All right, I think we are recording. Welcome to LangTime Chat episode 25.
Wasn't it going to tell us something?
What do you mean?
Like anything? Wasn't it going to say like recording is in progress or?
Look, the little cloud with the red dot is flashing at you.
Yeah, but it didn't say anything to us.
Because you're the one who hit record.
Well, but
if you're a participant, it tells you, so that way you know you're being recorded. But like if you're the one who hit record as the person owning the account.
I guess. I just wish it would have given me some kind of warning. I had no idea what was coming.
You had no idea that you were the one who hit record and that they were going to start recording you.
Are you sure this is episode 25?
I am sure. I even went and verified. And then I remembered, oh yeah, I remember making a comment about how we've been doing this for 2 years and that was exciting. But I went and verified on Patreon. And indeed, this is 25.
All right.
And this is part 2 of a little mini series. It's really just going to be 2, but this is it. This is part 2. So if you're not up to date, maybe you want to start with episode 24 before joining in here, because in episode 24, we created a little like proto-sketch, and then we both worked on it individually, and some of our patrons worked on it too. And so we're going to see some results today. I've seen the patron results that were sent. You have not seen anything.
Extreme laziness prevented it.
And I have not seen yours. And so what you can't see on the podcast is I actually created a whole slideshow for today. So we're going to be very organized in our discussion. But like when we actually put this up on YouTube as a video, you know, people will be able to see. And I'll totally like share this presentation, but it really only helps if you have a Keynote. I'll have to PDF it.
Yeah, it's easy to do.
Okay.
Do you have animations?
No, I do not have animations. And
PDF is great.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and click to the next slide, because what I wanted to do first was just remind, because even if, you know, you watched episode 24, it may have been a whole month since you've seen it. And so I just wanted to remind people about what our inventory was. Oh, your computer has the red underlines on. We may want to hit play because red underlines are going to be everywhere after this.
Oh no, let me
take away the red underlines.
Let me help you out with that. I'm gonna check spelling while typing.
Oh, wonderful. Now we won't have those ugly red lines. Okay, so I think like one of the, or two of the like bigger features, I won't read through all the sounds again, but two of the bigger features were that we only had voiceless stops, and we had unaspirated and aspirated variants, which definitely played a role, I know, in how a lot of people treated sound changes. And then we also had velar and uvular sounds. So it's like we skipped palatal. We really only had that palatal approximate, but then we had velar stops, uvular stops, and then we have the voiceless fricative of each.
There's an error here that I'm going to fix.
Oh, he's changing. Well, that means you have to change on the next screen too.
All right. I'll turn it back.
Okay, so yes, this was the phonology, not just the proto sound inventory. Okay, so
it's a wild color scheme. I'm going to describe this to those who are listening and can't see it. It's truly extraordinary. So we have a mixture of black backgrounds and dark gray, and then kind of I want to say like an 80s sedan blue, a pea green. This is like shag carpet from the early 70s. And then this yellow, which, I mean, it's straight out of like a tabletop from a bowling alley in 1977.
I was going for 1979, but I'll take it.
All right.
Okay, wonderful.
Well, it'd still be around. It'd be a little more faded though, so it'd be lighter.
That is very true. Okay, so those were our consonants. And then on our vowels, if you want to go to the next slide, vowels, we had a 5 vowel system, but instead of E, A, U, O, A, we didn't have an O, and we had a schwa instead. And so that is our 5-vowel system. So not quite the classic, but really close. Okay.
You can just hit the down arrow.
I sure can. Then we came up with 5 verb roots and 7 noun roots. And so we had words for to sleep, give, pick up, sit, and lie. And these are going to keep coming back. But what we were going for was really trying to get a good mixture of especially those consonants, getting them like all over in terms of like having, for instance, to sleep, we have cup, where you have like unaspirated K at the beginning and an aspirated P at the end, versus things like, oh, I can't, kunky. Was that?
Punky.
Kunky.
Punky.
Which was to pick up. My favorite word was Haley, which is daisy. And then our nouns, we had rock, person, child, daisy, stick, grass, and hill. And we were going for a variety, again, of sounds, but also we wanted nouns and verbs that could come together to form little sentences if we wanted.
These were not as varietous when it came to syllable shape, I discovered.
Yeah, that is very true. The syllable shapes, we really, yeah. they were not.
We had 4 word internal codas, and 2 of them were cha.
I mean, I think we were really going for like getting that uvular velar distinction, and we got stuck on that. And so we have all sorts of those, but we didn't. Yeah, you're right. There's obviously so much more that we could do from here. We also decided that this language would be VSO and head initial. So those were the decisions we made.
We did.
Yeah, we sure did. And it was even in the document that was shared.
Did all of us remember that?
If you scroll down, it should have been the description.
Well, this will really be a surprise.
Okay, so we will find out. But first, we're going to focus on sounds, which should not mess up the whole thing. We're going to talk about sound changes. First, I'm going to start with just running through with how my modern forms turned out and like just highlight some of the changes that I did. And then I'm going to pull up your screens, which are right now blank other than having the roots and the meanings. Okay. So we need to fill those in.
Okay.
So I separated them into verbs and nouns, so that way you can more easily see them whenever you do see this wonderful presentation. Oh yeah, that's right. I used a macron for my long vowel symbol because I like how it looks. And Dave was just shaking his head. So one thing that I did was I merged the uvular and velar, but I merged them in ways where all the sounds, the consonants before an ah or an oo were uvular, and then it was a velar in front of a front vowel. So essentially they merged, but it depended on what vowel followed it. Oh, that should be clunky.
Yeah, I was gonna.
I made a mistake. No. It's because it was in front of a schwa in the proto form, and that didn't switch to an ah vowel until later.
Right.
So for instance, cup. I can't do that. Cup. That consonant at the beginning became uvular instead of velar because it was in front of the ah vowel. So ah.
And why is that spelled with a K instead of a Q?
Oh, because they're spelled with K's throughout, because it's totally predictable whether it's going to be a ka or a pa. Okay. Except in that one. I forgot about that. It was totally predictable.
Yeah, so it's not really predictable. Probably
okay, well then I'll spell it with a Q to make you happy. We can change all these. Can you put it there so I can change it?
It would make me happy. Here we go. Hold on a sec.
Okay. Is it okay?
There.
But then like
but those are both K's.
Hunky, it's both K's because when that sound change happened, in kunky, it was still a schwa. And so it didn't trigger the uvular. And so it ended up being velar, kunky. And I kept schwas in unstressed positions. And so I do still have a schwa. But I spelled it with an O because it was like an available vowel, and like the only time you see O is when it's the schwa sound. So I romanized it with an O, but like there is no O sound.
Okay.
It was just, I needed a vowel spelling and
Could have
that,
spelled it with a schwa.
yeah, but that doesn't always bold and italicize as well as you want it to. But I did do this whole thing in Noto Sans, so that way it would do
Sort of
everything.
would, yeah. All right.
Okay, so those were my verbs. On the nouns, see more of these changes. I voiced consonants, the stops and the fricatives, I voiced between vowels. So that changed, for instance, a tu to adu. Any stressed schwa went to an ah, unstressed schwas stayed a. Another thing is I deleted any glottal at the end of a word. So word final glottals were deleted. And coda, the coda fricatives were deleted, but then there was compensatory vowel lengthening. So like tafe became tale.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, and the glottal stop remained vowel intervocalically. So like ni, stick, I still have that glottal stop.
All right.
And so those are some of my sound changes that I highlighted there. Oh, wait, I need to change the spelling of hill because that's in person, because both of those are Q. Oh gosh, I might have to change a lot.
Not a lot.
Julio. And I know,
Change
but
that
in
to
my
Q.
examples later.
And then
how
this
am I
actually, this could be fun. Have you ever considered romanizing that? Yeah, QH.
So,
I like it.
Julio.
Julio. I'm sorry, that's,
Oh,
it says schwa, right? Because even though it's spelled O, Julio.
Oh, goodness.
Here, hold on a sec. Can I pop up here? It's really irregular, I know, but please let me just pop up and get past you really quick, like physically.
I was like, how am I gonna?
All right.
Phone, everything hit.
Everything.
I don't know what David's doing. Where is he going? I tell you what. Okay, so yeah, this is really irregular. Now I'm just standing here. But so I was gonna go through and change these to schwas, but I feel like that would be too much work. And I remember that was my romanization scheme. And you know what? Forget, this is my romanization scheme. This is my language. David doesn't get to decide what I do. I will change those to Qs just for ease of remembering, but the rest of it's mine. And now we're on to the really fun part, which is to find out what David's were, but he's not here. And like, I'm really deciding whether I should pause this because we only have an hour in these.
So,
and we have a lot to get through.
What happened over here? It sounded like somebody went mad with power. Is that what happened?
It's not mad with power when it's my language and
Utterly,
I decide what I want to do with. Can you hold that?
Utterly power drunk.
And so,
all right.
Now we're going to go down, and this is your slide. So we have a slide for the romanization or sorry, not a slide, but a column for romanization.
Okay.
And then a column for IPA.
So I didn't do a romanization. I think.
Oh, well, then in that case, we can get rid of that column and just do IPA.
I mean, you could easily just make one, but I'll try to give you a rundown very quickly of. So I had 23 sound changes. Yeah, I didn't do a romanization, but I could easily do one. So let's just do it. Let's just go down the line. These are all in order, right? Okay, so here we go. So kap becomes kava. Look at that. 23 sound changes later, still mostly recognizable. And then did you put angle brackets?
I did square brackets.
Little angle brackets. Okay.
Those are not angle brackets. Those are square brackets.
They're square brackets. All right.
So to sleep. So mine was paw long.
Yeah, I don't think we got cues anymore in this language. They're all gone. And here we go. So
okay. So the protoform su with a glottal stop became so.
Yep.
David.
And then so this weird word, what do we have here? Punky.
To pick up.
Became hange.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah. So yeah, nice, simple. Hime became Hime.
Oh, like bunny in our Ingala language.
That's right. Asta
To lie down, I should say.
became Atha
Oh my gosh, you chose to have a th sound.
all the
I'm
time.
shocked.
That's a good sound. I like it.
Okay,
All right. So
so those are the verbs. So now we need to go to the next slide to get to your nouns.
yeah, let's see here. Okay, atu became or atu became edu. Very
Ooh.
close.
Mine is adu.
Very close to yours. Kuya became kuja.
Nice. Mine was kuya.
Mhm. Yeah, so like you're going to discover that there's, I mean, it looks like not much changed, but there was a whole lot that got this here. So Tachle is now Chale.
Whoa, that went through something.
That's a bit of a story. Heli is now Ile.
Aw, another story I feel though.
Ni'i is now Ne. All right.
Nice.
Pakis, this is the worst word. I hated this word. I absolutely hated this word.
Mine became paki.
It's perise. Perise.
Parise.
No, perise.
Perise.
Yeah, there's the stress. Perise.
Perise.
Yeah, I couldn't. And
grass. Okay.
And Hurja is Hoja.
Hoja. Nice. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm going to give you the 10-second rundown of what all happened to these sounds. Okay, so the absolute first thing I did is I said everything that ends in a consonant gets a copy vowel on the end. I had to have that. So that made things a lot easier. After that, all the glottals disappeared. Gone. All right. And then let's see, the ch and ch disappeared in coda position. We're leaving a long vowel behind it. So that was what happened to tachle. So now it's dale. And double vowels that were the same became long. Fricatives went to H before a consonant. So that was, for example, asta, right? Then the ch became just a regular H. That's a uvular. What is this? Plus voice. What on earth is happening here? Obstruent. O stands for obstruent. Obstruents voiced in between a voiceless thing and a vowel. That included nasals. So hunky.
So you said in between a voiceless thing and a vowel?
In between a voice thing, in between a voice thing and a vowel. So hunky became clungy. But also, like if there was an S in between vowels, which there was in pakizi, it became pakizi. Also, this is unaspirated, so aspirate still stays. So that was the first 7 sound changes. Next, aspirated consonant went to a fricative, and so that was where kappa, as it was at that point, went to kappa. Let's see. H goes to consonant in front of a consonant. So in other words, geminates. So ahta became atha. That produced some geminates. Now fricatives went to plus voice in between vowels. That was where kafa became kava, and that was actually its final form. It didn't change after that.
Oh, but then the atha stayed because it was a geminate.
That's right. And then geminates were lost. And so that's how you got the voiceless fricatives in between vowels. A vowel went to plus low after a U. What is a U? Let's see what changed. Uvular. Yes. So a vowel went to plus low after a uvular, or basically it lowered after.
It lowered one step.
So puya went to puya. And then uvulars merged with velars. So the uvulars are gone completely from the language at this point. A vowel that wasn't stressed went to low at the end of a word. So that changed, hangi to hange. And let's see some other ones. Ata, atha, because is higher than and it wasn't stressed. Kuya becomes kuya. Let's see.
But this did not
Ele,
affect
I
the
think
long
you say.
vowels. So is that one
Because
was
they were
stressed.
stressed.
Okay, so the long vowels
Because they were stressed. See. All right, so that's the next 7. After that, vowel that wasn't low and was stressed went to high.
So that's why Haley became Ile,
That's
because
right.
you flip-flopped. The stressed vowels went up a step and the unstressed vowels went down a step.
Precisely. Yep. All right. So then long vowels went to vowel at the end of a word. So we lost long vowels at the end of a word unless it was the only vowel of the word. So su stayed and tale stayed, but like adu didn't. Oh, is this where this changed?
Somewhere, okay, so all of a sudden adu has a diphthong.
Yeah, is it here? Oh, right. A V that minus low plus stress becomes a V plus a high vowel. So like adu became idu, but ele was just basically ile. So in other words, the didn't go to a barred I, it became I, whereas e became e and o became u. That's what happened. All right, then we have this one, the long vowels lost at the end of the word, unless they were the only vowel of the word. The vowel plus long H.
Your 10 seconds has been up for about 3 minutes.
Yeah, I know. Oh, long vowels that were high. Long vowels that were high broke. So su became so, and ni became ni. Then long a became ya. And you're just going to have to accept that that's what happened.
Oh, that happened in tale. It became tiale.
Yeah, tale became tiale. Tiale. And my inspiration for this was Japanese, where the word for cash was borrowed into Japanese. And you know how it was borrowed? Kyashu.
Nice.
Okay, so that was the most controversial sound change, I think. And then schwa before a vowel became schwa that was, or a vowel that was minus high. So o became o. Nasal plus a stop just became a nasal. So hange became hange. Then I went to a yod in front of a vowel. So tiale became tiale. Then what was it? This thing happened. The ya plus a vowel became palatal or whatever. So tiale became chale. And ya went to ja just because I like it.
And so kuya became kuja.
Yep.
Okay.
There you go.
So those are David's sound changes. Can you go down? And now can you enter? You said 23.
Yes.
Okay, so David had the most sound changes.
So
we're about to see a comparison.
So I won.
And so I had 8. You can tell like what are, I don't know. I as I was joking with David, because at one point he had mentioned how many sound changes he was already on, and I was like, oh, I'm done with like 8. And like that's like my least favorite part, I think.
Who has the most sound changes? The J's combined or the non-J's combined?
The J's combined, because no, wait, nope. It may not be. I think, yeah, the non-J's. Okay, so that's what right. David is looking at is we had 4 patrons submit what they did with it. And so out of those 4, 3 of them are J's, Jason, Jonathan, and Jake. And between me, Jason, Jonathan, and Jake, we don't have as many sound changes as David and Miles.
That's right.
Because Miles had 22 sound changes.
So combined, we have 45, whereas you have...
We have less.
16 plus 16 is 32, plus 5 is 37.
Because Jonathan and Jake are like on my wavelength, and it's like 5, 8, we're good. Jason had 16.
Mm-hmm.
I know though that Jonathan wasn't finished and wanted to do more work, but it was also like had to send it to be included, and so like yeah. I know that they weren't done.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're just going to actually, can you pop up here? Can you copy your IPA column of the verbs? Or like get it started highlighted?
Hold shift.
I can do that.
Oh.
And I'm going to Control C.
I don't think that worked. Try it again.
How do I?
Try it.
It's Control C, right?
Well, I copied it. All right.
Okay, now can you go down to this slide and we'll paste it there.
Let's see if it works. Yep.
Perfect. Okay, and then we'll do that on the noun slide in just a second. So now what we're looking at is a full comparison to look at all the different forms of our little language family that happened here. And so, for instance, I struggle. Cup. There we go. Of course, for me, it became ka, and for David, became kava.
Mhm.
For Jason, it became rap.
Oh boy.
How was that?
That's
No, how was my pronunciation?
no, that was good. I just
Thank
don't
you.
understand it.
For for Jonathan, it became cup with like an affricate.
Mhm.
For Miles and Jake both had tone. And so ka, low tone. And
weird.
Jake's is like a mid here, cuff. Because they ended up getting aspirated.
Got nothing but questions. All right, keep going.
Well, I have the full documentation.
Ooh.
All right, so to give, no, that wasn't to give. Yeah, it was to give. Sue.
Mhm.
For me was Sue, David, so, and then we had several Sue forms across the board. Jonathan is
Ooh.
the only one who kept the word final glottal stop.
And that's like the one language that allows the historical linguist to say there was a glottal stop there.
That's how we know. It's because there's no other reason.
Everybody thinks they're crazy and they look at these programs. No way was there a glottal stop at the end, but it was there.
There was. And then kunky. I can't. For me became kunky.
I have to say, a lot of these pronunciations seem a little punky to me.
For David became hange.
Short vowel, hange.
Exactly. For Jason, it became pungy. Like it's a
Fungi.
There we go.
Fungi. But this should be a super.
Okay.
Sorry.
I took what was in the document.
Yes. Yeah.
Jonathan has an affricate that I can't kunky. It's like KX.
Yeah. It's just like a K, but you delayed release, So instead of kunke.
Jonathan didn't separate syllables, so I didn't either.
What?
I took what was there, and so anyway.
Well, I'm going to do it.
Okay, well, David's adding.
I'm adding syllables, okay. Jonathan.
And then Miles was kaki. And then Jake's was kunki. Hime, for me became hime. For David, ime. For Jason, sheme. For Jonathan, hime. And then Miles, we have eme. And Jake, we have hime.
Look at that. Jake is the one. Jake's the one that preserves the uvulars,
yes.
So that we know they were there. Wow.
Yes. And then asta. Mine was ata. David was ata.
No
Jonathan, ata. Jason was asta. Jonathan gets another affricate here, asta. Miles, ata. And Jake was ata. Ate.
Ate.
There you go. Woo. Okay.
This is good stuff.
Now, can you go back up? Because I can't move.
You can't?
You
right.
Put me on the table.
Back here?
We need this one. We need your IPA for nouns.
All right. And copy.
Copy, and then go down to the noun chart. There we go. Okay, so now, you
doing it again, Jonathan.
Okay, so atu for me was adu, David edu, Jason zu, Jonathan atu, Miles otu, low tones, and Jake was etu, mid, like a neutral, eight, and then two.
Etu.
Koya, across the board we have koya, kuja.
Wait, yours didn't change?
Because it's in front of a back vowel, so the uvular stayed.
Right.
Uvular stayed uvular. Jason, we have hoyo, and then we have koya, que, there we go. And koya, koya,
Oh yeah.
there we go, koya. Getting there. Tachle, quite a few of us got rid of that coda because we have tale,
Still there for a couple. That's cool.
chale, dachle, tachle, tale. I think that was rising. Ta,
Tale.
and then le,
Dale.
and then tale.
Dale.
Very similar.
Yeah.
Haley for Daisy.
This is
Mine
like
stayed
French.
Haley.
Cool.
David, we have Ile. And then quite a few others, we still have Haley forms. And I think the only other one to drop the H is Miles. We have Haley.
Look at
Everybody
this.
else has some form of Haley.
Look at mine compared to all the rest of yours. Mine's got a bow on it. Mine's coming in with a rubber clown nose.
Listen, yours is the one that historical linguists are like, what the actual, and like, it's like, is this really related? And you know, that's you.
It's kind of like in French where all of these ch's came out of nowhere.
Well, listen, this next one though, kind of blew my mind, Ni'i, because
Okay.
mine stayed Ni'i.
Yeah.
And so did Jonathan's, and Jake's is like that too, just with some tone. Yours was ne. Jason went to nihi,
Mm.
and then Miles T.
The low vowel, long.
Yeah.
And so it's like, my guess is that there was probably a drop, like a consonant drop or something like that. And so that the N preceding the glottal stop caused it to just essentially,
Fever.
yeah, like
not
move
fever, alveolar.
yeah, move forward, and then the N dropped off. That's truly bizarre, though. That is truly bizarre.
That's the one where it's like, what? Okay, and then pakis. Mine is paki. Yours is, of course, the parise. Parise.
Périsé.
Parise.
I hate that word. hate that
Jason's
word.
is vekis. Jonathan, we have, again with that African, I can't do. Pakis.
Just to do a K, but let's do it slow.
Pa-
Okay. Pakis, pakis. Sorry,
Pakis.
pakis.
And then Miles, we have pay. And then this one is a mid-rising. Peki.
Becky.
There we go. And Jake, we have pokey. Finally, our very final word, which was hoya. Mine was hoya. David, hoja. Jason, husyo. Jonathan, hoya.
I like that.
Miles, hoye. No, wait, hoye.
Yeah, you got it.
And then Jake is hoye.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, hoye.
No.
No,
Oh, yeah.
doggone it. Okay, that's Jake's.
Mm.
Woo, okay. Some cool things that happen in the other form. I'm not gonna obviously like just run through all the sound changes because there's quite a few, but some cool things that happen. In Jason's forms, the unaspirated stops when I did in voice. So like the P ended up becoming a V. And so that was, I thought, pretty cool. Jonathan's changes included that vowels shifted when occurring before or after uvular consonants, but then the velar and uvular consonants merged, so that it left some vowels in a different form, but like it looked like, you know, the protoforms would have been the same or something. So like that was like a fun little, you know, ordering thing that happened. Miles had 3 rounds of like tonal shifts that happened that resulted in low, high falling, and low rising tones.
Wow.
Jake had 2 rounds of tonal shifts that ended up resulting in rising, falling, and dipping tones. But tone can only be assigned to 1 syllable per word. And so like there were some changes that happened after that. So,
interesting.
So like tone was introduced like early in the sound changes. And then later in the sound changes, it was like if one hadn't yet been assigned tone, it was assigned tone, but they followed specific patterns and there was a whole chart.
It's like a stress time language, but with tone instead of stress. Interesting.
Cool. All right, so as far as grammar goes, most of everybody who submitted only did sound changes.
Mhm.
Miles, however, did some sentences, so I wanted to include those. And Miles stuck to the VSO word order that was in the document that we talked about in the episode. And you can see that word order in sentences like kaki kwe otu. which means the person picks up the rock, and literally it's pick up person rock.
That was really good pronunciation.
Oh, thank you. And then even when an indirect object is introduced, like the person gave the stick to the child, you just get verb and then subject, object one, object two order, all in a row. So you get like su que ti tale. I did not do as good on that one because you gave me a compliment too soon, and then I got in my
Sorry,
head.
I messed you up. You just mixed up those first two tones. Su que ti tale.
And then we had a fun little bit here where a locative preposition, which came from the verb to set, the protoform was prime, became a locative prefix on nouns. And the modern form, because like the verb for to sit in modern form is me, high tones, and the prefix form is just a with a high tone, but it changes the tone of the following syllable. Usually it lowers it from whatever it was, it lowers the step. So here in this sentence, will you read the sentence for me with all these tones up here?
Let's see. I don't know how this would be. It's a long vowel, right? But it's okay, mid-rising. Okay, I got it. Catale e peki.
There we go. So the child sleeps in the grass. But here it's like peki became a and then peki. So like that, so it lowered the tone of the initial syllable of peki.
Let me try that. I think I got it. Peki becomes e peki. Yeah.
Yeah. And as another example, then another sentence Miles gave was the child picks up the daisy on the hill. And so that same tonal lowering occurs in hoye, which is hill, and you get e hoye. And so this one is kaki tale eli e hoye. Nice. All these tonal languages. So that's what Miles did. I did ergative and absolutive.
I see.
And so for my grammaticalization notes here, I used the noun for rock, which was a tu in its protoform, as an ergative prefix. And it literally is like at the rock of X, or at the rock of someone is viewed as instrumental, and the person wielding the instrument is the agent. And so that's the ergative prefix. And then I also did do like a dative locative prefix that came from at the hill of X. And so hill, hochje in protoforms became a prefix. So for instance, rock is adu, and that's its absolutive form, the plain form. The ergative form would be adadu, and then the dative form is hogadu. Hogadu. I can do it.
Hogada.
Hogada. Yes, you're right, because I should not put a U at the end where there is no U. Our person, huya, became akuya, and then hokuya. Those are the three forms.
Yeah.
So that was function. I also had number marking, where grass, pakis, became the plural suffix. In other words, it's seen as like blades of grass, so there are multiple. And so like adu, rock, became adupa, and huya, person, became huyaba. Huyaba. There we go. Got it. Stress is on the initial. Huyaba. That's person.
Why does that one voice and the other one voice? Is there an H in the protoform of a? Is it a tu?
Yes. Because that H kept it from voicing.
Right.
Yeah. And then I also did word order where it was possessee, possessor, and both matching case. And so like person's rock in absolutive would be adukuya. But if it were like ergative, like child's daisy, I have ateli atale. That's fun. Or hill's grass, in dative, both forms would have to be in dative, they match. Hopaki, hohuyo. And so that is
interesting.
That. So then I also made a note that compounds had initial, and only, as far as I know, I'm only going to allow noun compounds. And so like Heli Baki is wildflower, which is literally daisy grass.
It's really nice.
And then place names and people names do the same things. And so Daisy Hill is a place in my little world. Huya Heli. is Daisy Hill.
It's really nice.
All right, so on my verbs, I made the verb for to lie the imperfective prefix. And so asta, to lie, added to a verb changes it into imperfective. So like the child slept, the bare form here we have kaputale, but akaputale is the child is sleeping. There are some suffixes in here, and that's because they match. So kuya is person, that became the third person animate agreement, and ni'i, stick, is the third person inanimate agreement, and it agrees with the absolutive argument. And so himegu tale, the child sat, versus like himeni adu, the rock sat.
That's not quite right, actually. That's himegu
Yeah, it
tale.
is. It sure is.
You have voiced uvular stops in this language.
I sure do. I can't say them, but I have them.
Yeah, you do. You just vibrate your vocal folds while you're doing a cue. So instead of pa,
Himegu. Himegu.
yeah, himegu, himegu.
I was trying to challenge myself. I was just going to delete all the uvulars, and then I was like, you know what? I'm gonna surprise David.
That's something.
All right. And then some other example sentences, like I have the child picked up the daisy, kankini atale heli, versus like the person picked up the child, or you can see the verb changes from kankini to kankigu, akuya tale. And then the child gave the person a daisy is suni atale heli fukuya.
It's really something.
So those were my examples. David, I don't know what you did.
So let's see if I remembered this. Let's see. No, I didn't, because Charlie is child, isn't it? Yeah. So let's just do some copy and pasting here. Okay. We're gonna just just gonna
Oh, okay. I see what you're doing.
Yeah, we're just gonna take the verbs and put them in front.
Because someone forgot that it was BSO order, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, ultimately it doesn't matter for everything else.
I believe you did the same strategy I did with making to lie the imperfect. And oh my gosh, it ends up looking the same in terms of as a prefix, except for the fact that mine is and yours ends up potentially having the theta with it whenever it begins with a vowel. Like
oh yeah, there's lots of stuff happening here. Man, I don't know how I feel about this. If like I'm 100% on board with the placement of everything now that I know where the verb is supposed to be, but we'll just pretend.
Well, I mean,
for the time being that it's all right.
I mean, what happens sometimes in proto forms through changes, they change word order sometimes.
Yeah.
And so like you could argue that it's still VO in terms of head initial. Yeah. So like you could move everything back to where you had it and just say you went through a word order change.
Just like Arabic did. You know what? Yeah.
So he's now undoing all
everything.
The changes he just
everything. But this will go very fast because you can just hit the button super fast. Look how fast that is.
It is. Okay, yeah, stop there.
Okay, so there is a basic distinction between transitive and intransitive. There is no distinction for noun number, or at least not at this stage, because I didn't see anything that really inspired me. So you can just get rid of that noun number.
You have all the stuff to get rid of it. I can't.
Oh, right. I do. How did you do it? Like, are these entirely separate slides? Like,
yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I did it where I showed
verbs, sentences. Yeah. Got it.
I just made some slides in there so that way we were ready for your examples.
Okay.
I didn't know what you actually did.
Yeah, okay, so then, so noun function, and let's see how you, okay. So I think that what I just need to do is I just need to do this, is that right? Okay, so word order determines noun function. That is, who hath done what to whom. Okay, this necessitated a change in verb placement, resulting in basic SVO word order.
Done. See?
Yeah. Noun possession, didn't even go there. You went a lot further than I did, Missy May. You done good.
Yeah, what 23 sound changes? I'm all like, what can I do with the grammar? I literally, and you may, now this may make more sense. The day I literally woke you up at like 6 in the morning, and David's not a morning person, mind you, but I was like, I have an idea for the language for grammaticalization. I was so excited.
Yeah.
And I spent the rest of that day and even took my laptop to a Super Bowl party because I didn't want to stop working on the document. And that was because of the grammar section.
Okay. Oh, but I do have something else to add here. So yeah, no, that was really something. Let's see, nouns may co-occur with a definite prefix. This prefix is before consonants and or just K before words that begin with I, or Kya before words beginning with other vowels. Ultimately, from, you probably guessed it.
Kuya.
Yeah.
It's with a J and then a schwa.
Thank you.
Yeah. Kuya, which means person.
Yes.
Nice.
From, and I figured the schwa would drop off pretty easy, and that'd leave you with kui. And I was like, well, what would that become? Maybe kui. And I was like, do I want to go the kui route, or do I want to just say p and then p? And so it just became ki. All right. Verbs. So basic distinction. You know, when you have nothing else, you can always do reduplication. And so there is a basic distinction between transitive and intransitive verbs. Transitive verbs occur, are basic roots. Intransitive verbs are a reduplication. The source of this reduplication is zero derivation of the verb verb root as a nominal object. For example, I slept a sleep. All right. And so then the example that I have at the outset, chale kakaba, is the child slept. And what that was, it started off with chale, kaba, kaba. But since the object gets the most stress, the first one shortened to just a prefix. So chale kakaba, the child slept. So
and not the a
child.
The child will be kichale.
That's right. Kichale kakaba. Right. Okay. So then next, that's one thing for verbs. The other thing is there's a distinction between perfect and imperfect. The bare stem is perfect. The imperfect takes a prefix a before words begin with a consonant, and ath before words that begin with a vowel. And remember,
can you change that prefix?
Yes, that's actually how you say it in French. Prefice. But yeah, so oth, and remember it's oth because it was originally a geminate.
Yeah.
And then source from.
It's with a aspirated T.
Thank you. Asta.
Okay, so
yeah,
well, these sentences, we'll take care of this and get them.
There are a bunch of them, but like.
And we'll just like give a few on the slide. But do you want to just read some of like a child gave us the.
Sure. So like, well, let's do versus the. So chale kakaba, a child slept. Ki chale kakaba, the child slept. And now let's do the slept versus his sleeping. So ki chale kakaba, the child slept. Ki chale akakawa, the child is sleeping. So it's just a little prefix there. Let's see, this one, just hear it with ath, the child is setting. Ki chale atheme, that's with the th in there. And now with the transitive verb, the verb is simpler. So we have ki chale ime kikuja, the child seated the person. So ki chale ime, just the bare form, kikuja. And that is compared to the child sat, ki chale eme. Now you might notice, wow, this is very light. The difference is eme and ime when there's reduplication. And that's because of the protoform of sit, which was chime. So remember, it doesn't start off as H, it starts off as ch. And so originally this would have been chime, right? For the reduplicated form, shortens up to chime. Then ultimately when it gets lost, it leaves the two vowels next to each other. And so that's why it was a long vowel, right? Something like that. Anyway, the point is the reduplicated form is eme and the basic form is ime.
Nice.
Somehow, I don't know. Let's see. Oh, and like you can do this with, it's essentially what we call anti-passive. So chale chachane, a child picked something up. So it's implied that there's an object, you don't have to list what it is, because it's in the intransitive form, which means that there's no object listed, but picking up implies a semantic object. So it's like a child picked something up, right? And so you wouldn't need anything for like something or anything like that. Versus a child picked up the rock. And there you hear the other form of the prefix there.
Nice.
And then we have, let's see, so the child gave the stick to the daisy. So this is a preposition. I don't know where to put this. Preposition, and it comes from sit. Yeah, preposition comes from sit. Let me just toss this on nouns.
You can add another slide.
How about indirect objects are preceded by the preposition e from female. There we go.
Yes.
All right. So the child gave the stick to the daisy.
Obviously.
And here there's some fun things with stress, because of course the determiner, right? What is that? The definite prefix, that's never going to get the stress, right? So stick is ne, and so kichale so kine. But then you have ikile, because this K is just getting added to the front of ile, which is the word for daisy. So it does get the stress in the normal place. So I really like that one.
That's cool.
We have in the, what is this, the imperfect? Kichale asokine ikile. Sorry. Kichale asokine ikile. There we go. The child is giving the stick to the daisy.
I love how fast you read yours, and I'm all like, kichale aso. Kine ikire.
Yeah, but this thing was, I mean, this thing was juiced. I mean, look at this phonology. This thing was made to be zipped through. Like I killed everything that wasn't quick.
Okay, so now,
Yeah.
next slide.
Okay.
We'll copy in sentences there. So I translated 2 sentences that Miles had into my language, and then I left a spot for you to put yours.
Okay.
And so the first one is the child picks up the daisy.
Okay, so Tichale. Pick up, right. In the
And this is imperfect.
So ahange. And then
Kile, because it's the daisy.
The daisy.
Yeah.
Tichale ahange kile. Yep.
Nice. And then the second sentence. So, oh, by the way, the child picks up the daisy. In my language, sketch became a. I gotta stop. A kankini, a tale heli. And then Miles was kaki tale eri.
And then mine.
Kichale ahange hile. No. I missed the K. Kichale ahange kile.
There you go. Good.
Got it. Okay. And then as you type that one, the person gave the child a stick. In my language was suni akuyo ni'i hotare. In Miles's language, it was suque titale.
What's person?
Kuya was the proto form.
Oh,
so kusha.
Kusha.
And so it's
okay.
kikusha.
Kikusha. Kikusha so, right?
Yeah, because it's gave, and so it's past tense.
Kikusha so.
Perfect, I should say.
Kikusha so kine. Kikusha so kine. Ikichale.
Yeah.
Kikusha so kine ikichale.
There you go. And so now there's how very different the same protoforms can become. This is like a really cool little experiment exercise where we got to see just how different things could end up being. And so that's really fun. Woo.
This is good stuff.
This was it. And as you're listening to the podcast, like I said, I will make sure I put this as an attachment, the presentation, so you can kind of go through with it and actually see the differences. And I think that will really help. Otherwise, it could be difficult to just hear all of these things going on and try to make sense out of it. But hopefully we were able to narrate enough of what we were looking at to really highlight some of the cool things that happen.
Yeah, this is kind of, I'm looking at mine, it's kind of nice because it feels like this whole intransitive thing where you're taking a zero-derived version of the verb as an object, it ties it very strongly together, which would interrupt the placement of the subject, which would be part of the motivation for pulling the subject out in front. So I feel less bad about not looking at the document to see what the word order was, or remembering what the word order that we agreed on was. It's my bad there.
Yeah, it is. And don't exit out of the presentation because we're going to come back and pick up. We can do multiple slides. We can get all your example sentences in. The only reason I stopped you from doing it here is that copying and pasting from Pages to Keynote, it like keeps the formatting from Pages, which is so not helpful, instead of taking the format from the slide.
I have a trick for that.
Excellent. So that will be good, but you can make that happen, and we'll do that when we're not like recording dead air as you copy and paste. So we hope you enjoyed this 2-part special episode of developing a language sketch and all the different ways that you can take some very simple forms and even a small system, and through really a different number of sound changes across the board, come up with some very different results on the modern form.
I know that was a really good send off, and I'm so happy to just end it there, but okay. Never mind.
You're good to end it there.
Yeah. No, I had a question about your sentences, but no, I get it. Never mind.
Okay.
It's all good.
Okay, so we're good. And we are now going to say goodbye.
Oh,
And
all right.
stay grammar.
Well, that's a nice thing to say.
And we will see you next time.
All right. Bye, everybody. I don't know what to do now.
Well, you have to go to the more again.
The more again?
And stop recording. Bye, everyone.
End
No,
meeting?
no, stop recording.
Okay, hold on. Where?
Up. Oh, there you go. Woo. Okay, now stay grammar.